We have Kristina Wong from Breitbart News. She's the Pentagon correspondent. She's going to give us all the details on this story about the National Guard. Kristina, thank you so much for joining the Grace Curley Show.
Hi, Grace. Thank you so much for having me on.
So, Kristina, tell us what happened with the National Guard. The first story that came out was that they were banished to the garage. And then something came out about a congressman, and I don't know if you know this, Kristina. We're based in Massachusetts, and he was one of our own. He was a congressman from Massachusetts who was a little bit of a tattletale.
Yes, a Karen, as we call them today, right?
Exactly.
So I learned from a source, and I viewed National Guard communications that Representative Bill Keating from your state, he was at a Dunkin' Donuts in the Capitol building, and it looks like there was one in his particular building in Longworth. And so he was at a Dunkin' Donuts, and he saw a National Guard soldier without a mask on. And so according to the National Guard communications, it appears like he said out loud, there's a federal mandate, you have to wear a mask on all federal property. And the soldier, the National Guard person, whose name, the last name it was listed, but I would have to confirm that, so I don't want to say it. But so that a soldier came up to him and said, I appreciate my freedom. And after that, Keating allegedly went to, the Capitol building authorities, whether it was the Capitol Police, I'm not sure. But he went to report this to authorities, and then after that, several hours later, troops were banished to the garage. So they were kicked out from the Capitol building grounds and told, that they could take their rest no longer in the cafe areas, in the Capitol building. They'd have to take their off-duty rest in a garage. And so, and we've seen all these pictures of troops, on the ground, on the concrete.
Right.
There's reports that there's one electrical outlet for 5,000 troops, 2 toilets for all 5,000. They're trying to sleep under harsh fluorescent lights, and so they're not. From what I gather, they're not there overnight, but because their shifts are several hours for a time and their hotels are back in Maryland or Virginia, they can't get to them very easily. And plus, traffic's all shut down. So they just take their naps wherever they can. And so,
right.
It happens to be now they're napping in the garage and inhaling exhaust fumes. So, this is a terrible debacle.
I'll say, and it sounds like the Democrats are really becoming the party of hall monitors, just walking around the halls of the Capitol and trying to figure out who they can get in trouble. And I know that you don't want to mention the National Guard's name because you can't confirm it, but I don't want you to mention it because I don't want this guy to lose his job. I think that it's crazy that out of all of the people, when I read these stories, the person that everyone's most angry at is the National Guardsman in the Dunkin' Donuts trying to have a coffee on his like 15-minute break.
Absolutely. And you think about, why is he there? Because Dems were so terrified, that there was going to be something during the inauguration that they brought in more than 25,000 National Guardsmen from every single state and territory. That's sort of mind-boggling.
Right.
26,000 was the number of the National Guard is, confirming. That's what are they expecting?
No, you're right. They wanted them there to keep them safe, and then it turns out that someone taking a sip of coffee without their mask on actually makes Bill Keating feel less safe than any sort of threat happening in D.C.
Yeah, and then they get shoved into the garage, and so some National Guardsmen, they've been telling reporters. So one told the Washington Post, "I've never in my entire career felt like I've been booted onto the curb and told, figure it out on your own." And there's one who said, "Now I feel like a wet paper towel. You wiped me down and threw me away."
Wow.
Those are some colorful quotes. I know, and it's just terrible. It's like, we wanted you here, either for protection and I suspect optics.
Right, a photo op, right.
Exactly. We've got all these troops. It's the Trump supporters are so dangerous. There was, they were going to come and they're going to, engage in violence. And I don't know. There might be some truth to some sort of threats. I don't know about that, but it was a spectacle to have 26,000 National Guardsmen guarding the inauguration, and then now, lining up and along the, inauguration route, and then now they're in the garage, a day after inauguration.
Right. Now they're not, they don't serve the purpose of getting pictures with Lady Gaga or making, Kamala Harris feel good. So now they get booted to the garage. It's a great point. Kristina, I wanted to read you this tweet from Jake Tapper. And do you notice a change in tone? He says, whoever in D.C. is in charge of this National Guard sleeping in a Senate parking lot mess. Can you let us know, who do you think is in charge right now in D.C.?
I don't know. Perhaps it's the new president, Joe Biden.
Right. Jake Tapper worked so hard to help Joe Biden become president. Now he can't remember his name.
Yeah, exactly. Or, at the least, what about D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, So she apparently and D.C. police, requested that the National Guardsmen be here, and all of a sudden they're just missing in action, right? And I think I've seen some tweets that the Trump Hotel might be open for these troops. But I think because of all this uproar, I think the Capitol's trying to work this out like ASAP, because this doesn't look good. I mean, this is 2 days into the Biden administration, and already this is, taking up a lot of oxygen.
It's very telling. And I think it's funny because it's not funny, but what makes it even more telling is the fact that this is what they always do. They run with this crazy optics idea, which was crazy to start with, but a lot of people, low information voters, people who don't really pay attention, they buy into it. They see all those people out there and they go, oh, wow, there must really be a threat. But that's not enough. Yeah. They have to have a renegade hall monitor who calls out a National Guardsman, and then they all end up in the garage. It's like every time they just have to be normal, they make it into such a PR nightmare for themselves.
This is definitely a self-own, like you said. I mean, I couldn't stand any better. And, luckily we've got governors saying, I want my troops home right now. I'm not going to have them sleeping in the garage, and under fluorescent lighting and all this stuff.
Kristina, and I think you're referring to either Greg Abbott or Governor Ron DeSantis. I want to play you Ron DeSantis' cut and get your take on it. This is cut 20.
These folks are soldiers. They've served our country all around the world. They've served our state of Florida after natural disasters. They're serving right now, helping with vaccinating senior citizens, and they've been on the front lines of the COVID fight. They're soldiers. They're not Nancy Pelosi's servants.
What do you think about that, Christine? Do you think Nancy Pelosi sees the National Guard as her servants? I don't think it's that far off.
I think she does. It's funny because I find that a lot of Democrats, they accuse Republicans of doing exactly what they do. So, there's all this screaming of, Trump, he politicized the military, and, he made General Mattis the first defense secretary. And then you have Biden, he's relying on a retired general. And so it's I think it's really just projection. Yeah. And, it does look like, these National Guards people were used as a political prop. And I think it's funny with DeSantis mentioned COVID. So there were more National Guard troops at the Capitol than there were on the COVID response. And so according to National Guard, there are about 21,600 National Guard troops helping with the COVID response. You actually had more troops protecting the Capitol and D.C. So that kind of shows you where their priorities are, even though they scream a lot about, COVID, we have to lock down, we have to shut everything down. They in a week or two, they put way more National Guards people, at the Capitol. And, so that and then you have D.C. opening back up. You have Michigan opening back up with indoor dining. And it's kind of like this, it's just, it's this miracle. Everything's ready to be opened back up again.
Well, it's timing. It's timing, Kristina.
Yeah.
The timing is, so coincidental. But I do want to say this one thing. Someone put on Twitter a picture's worth 1,000 words, and the two pictures they put together, one was of the National Guard laying down in that garage, and then side by side was Donald Trump when he was putting the hat back on. I think it was either a Marine.
Yeah.
And he's sticking the hat back on his head. And it's true. It's amazing how quickly they've shown their hand about how they really feel about the people who protect this country.
Exactly. And, you've had Republican congressmen, buying pizza for the troops, which is very nice, and giving tours. And, so I think, we've seen Republicans, it seems like they really respect the military, Democrats. I know this is broad, but, Democrats, it seems like, behind the scenes, they're the ones being Karens, and tattling on the one National Guardsman not wearing a mask, trying to get his morning coffee after being hauled here from wherever state he's from. And, I've talked to some of them on the ground. I talked to a few from Texas. I saw some wandering around D.C. this morning, in just their civilian clothes. I mean, they're from everywhere. They're from California, Oregon, every single state. They got yanked here, to sleep in the Capitol. And now they're forced to be in the garage. So, I mean, that just shows how little appreciation there is for them here.
Kristina Wong, thank you so much for joining us. Kristina Wong is from Breitbart, and you can find her stuff on the Breitbart website, but you can also find her on Twitter. Kristina, can you give people your Twitter handle?
Yes, it's Kristina_Wong, and that's Kristina_Wong. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
We'll have you back on again, Kristina. I'm sure there's going to be more hot scoops coming out of D.C. all the time. I do have to say, I find that amazing as well, and one of our listeners brought it up before that it's crazy that you see a National Guardsman and these are one of two reactions you have. Most normal people, most not Trump deranged, not insane moonbats. These are usually you have one of these two reactions. You either thank them for their service. That's the most normal reaction. Or if you're, a real decent person, you buy their coffee for them. Lisa brought that up in the last hour. I can't take credit. In a crazy, faraway planet, full of deranged nutcases, your reaction is to say, you're supposed to have your mask on in this building. The level of hardo and nerd you have to be to do that, it's beyond just disrespectful. It's annoying. It's like they're hall monitors. Excuse me. Can you please put your crawler down? You're supposed to have your mask on in this building. And they say nothing when Joe Biden has his mask off at the Lincoln Memorial. Because then again, that's a moment of celebration for the beautiful people. We're the sorry people, okay? Don't get ahead of yourselves. Listen up, guys. This is the best deal you're going to be offered all week. Have you been thinking about buying one of the Eden Pure Gen 30 space heaters or the Thunderstorm air purifier? Well, until today, you don't have to buy one or the other. This is such a good deal. You can get both. With code word THUNDER, you will get a free Thunderstorm when you purchase the Gen 30 space heater. I can't believe they're even running this deal because I know how in high demand both of these are. But if you want to get the Gen 30 space heater, you will get a free Thunderstorm. Your home heating bills are about to start skyrocketing, potentially costing you hundreds of dollars a month. Eden Pure Gen 30 heater will save you up to 50% on your heating bills. The Eden Pure Gen 30 Classic Infrared Heater uses state-of-the-art infrared heat to warm you to the core. It's even been proven to keep you warmer than your furnace and save you money on your heating bills every month. The Gen 30 heater doesn't dry out the air in the room. You won't get dry skin from it. If it tips over, it's not going to catch on fire. If you have pets or young kids, I know people get a little bit nervous with space heaters. This one is very safe. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word THUNDER. That's nearly $100 in savings, and shipping is free too. Buy the Eden Pure Gen 30 with code word THUNDER. You get a free Thunderstorm air purifier. EdenPure.com. You'll never be cold again, and you'll never smell that odor again. EdenPure.com. Code word THUNDER. We will be back with the poll question and more news from the beautiful people in D.C. Whatever you do, keep your masks on unless you're Joe Biden or his family. I'm Grace Curley, and this is The Grace Curley Show.
She's never held office, but she paid the whiskey priest's monthly rent once. She's Grace Curley.